Now that you know the what and why of luteal phase defect that we went over in part 1, if you haven't seen that, definitely check out part 1 before you watch this. Let's talk about action steps you can take if you suspect that you are dealing with this issue. If you're new here, my name is Whitney. I'm a fertility dietitian and coach, and I help busy women just like you get out of that Google spiral you're stuck in and get pregnant. As a board certified food and fertility nerd, I've helped hundreds of women figure out their fertility. And in today's video, part 2 of this 2-part series, I'm talking about those action steps you can actually take to improve and lengthen out your luteal phase defect by improving your hormonal flow. As always, this video is meant for educational purposes only and not meant to be a replacement for medical advice from your provider. Now, understanding your body starts with getting the right data, and there are 3 essential labs that I recommend for anybody who is dealing with a luteal phase defect. Lab number 1 is your progesterone levels. I talk about this hormone in probably every video that I've made on here and anything I've ever done on social media. Progesterone is your progestation hormone. You cannot get pregnant or sustain a pregnancy without enough of it. Progesterone is a pretty complicated hormone. It's what I call like an end result hormone. And so it's not just as simple as taking more progesterone or doing this one thing. It's the culmination of a lot of different activities, and I have a detailed video on this that I'll link in a little bit. How I like to think about progesterone in my brain, and bear with me, I know this is kind of a silly little analogy, but progesterone in my brain is kind of like a hammock for the uterus. Estrogen is like your construction company. They are building the uterine lining most of the month, and then progesterone comes in, and progesterone's the decorator. She puts the final touches on the uterine lining, and she also holds it all together, and that's where the hammock analogy for me comes in. Progesterone, if you don't have enough of it, is not going to hold up that uterine lining like we need to, and we tend to see a shorter luteal phase as a result of it. When clinics test your progesterone, they tend to recommend testing it on cycle day 21, and that's based on a normal 28-day cycle. Most of the women that I work with and most of the women in the world do not have a typical 28-day cycle. We vary and we ovulate on different days depending on the cycle we're in, depending on our hormone stuff. There's a big swing with what's considered a normal ovulation. So rather than testing your progesterone on cycle day 21 and possibly getting incorrect information, I recommend testing your progesterone 7 days after you ovulate. This is going to mean that you've got to track your ovulation. And I do have tips on how to do this in this Get Pregnant Naturally Fast video that I did a while back. You can check out my tips on cycle tracking there, but I do recommend following your ovulation and testing progesterone 7 days after you ovulate to get the most accurate numbers. The numbers that I look for in order to judge how strong your ovulation is, I'm looking for progesterone levels to be at least 10 nanograms per milliliter, and I like it even better when they get up to that 15 to 20 range. Ooh, I love it. Next up, you'll want a full thyroid panel. Now, thyroid is a very complex and deep topic, and I'm just gonna scratch the surface today and make sure that you're getting the labs that you need, because what I've seen is that a lot of clinics will just order something called a thyroid stimulating hormone, a TSH, and a free T4. Those labs, while very helpful, don't really tell the full picture. I like a full thyroid panel to not only see what your brain is telling your thyroid gland, which is right here, how much your thyroid gland is able to produce, but also are your cells converting that thyroid hormone into an active form. Like I said, it's a pretty complicated process, and if you have the ability and resources to do so, I recommend working with a practitioner who's familiar with this work, like myself, and a physician alongside to make sure your levels are optimal for healthy ovulation and to sustain that luteal phase length. Hey there, I've been in the editing process, I realized that I forgot to add what thyroid labs to actually ask for. If you are looking for a full thyroid panel, I recommend asking your doctor or ordering online a TSH, which stands for thyroid stimulating hormone, free T4, free T3, thyroglobulin antibodies, thyroid peroxidase antibodies, and if you're feeling real crazy, get a reverse T3 too. This will give you a picture of not only how much thyroid hormone your body is producing, it'll also tell us if your body is activating that thyroid hormone into an active form that is actually going to be able to be utilized by your body. So let's get back to the video. Next up, I want to make sure that you're checking your prolactin levels. Prolactin is your prolactation hormone. It's supposed to rise when you're lactating, and as your prolactin prolactin rises, it decreases or suppresses your sex hormone production and your ovulation, which can alter your luteal phase length, right? This is why it's harder for women to get pregnant when they're breastfeeding full-time as opposed to not breastfeeding full-time. It's a natural occurrence. It's supposed to go up, but unfortunately, we've seen in studies where higher chronic stress levels tend to correlate with higher prolactin levels, and it can still have that same natural suppressant on your sex hormones and your ovulation. And so making sure your prolactin levels are where we want them to be, which I like them to be less than 20 nanograms per milliliter, can be very helpful when we're trying to lengthen out that luteal phase. Have you ever heard of these labs, or has your doctor checked them? Comment below and let's share the wisdom. Next up, we cannot talk about luteal phase length and miss out on egg quality. Egg quality is crucial for luteal phase length. Egg quality is closely tied to luteal phase length because when you ovulate that big beautiful egg. That egg pops out of the ovary and it sheds something called the corpus luteum. And I picture the corpus luteum like Superman's cape, just shedding it as it's busting out of that ovary. And that cape, that Superman's cape, the corpus luteum, then starts pumping out your progesterone levels. It's responsible for pumping out those progesterone levels. If your egg quality is compromised for any reason, it can also compromise the integrity of that corpus luteum and its ability to properly pump out progesterone. We want to make sure your egg quality is in the best condition possible in order to optimize your progesterone production. And we cannot change your age, so that is something we cannot do much about. However, egg quality is also impacted by your diet, your lifestyle, your chronic stress, your toxin exposure, your genetics, all these other things. We can't change genetics either. I should have added that in. But all of those other factors we can absolutely optimize in order to slow down the aging process and that impact on egg quality, or reverse some of that damage too. I've worked with clients that have actually reversed their egg quality into, well, not reverse their egg quality, reversed back chronologically their egg quality, and they've ended up having higher quality eggs at a higher age. And it's so cool. It is absolutely possible. If you want to learn details on how to do this, check out my earlier video I did here on egg quality. One of the most common things people ask me are, what supplements can I take to fix these problems? And I know we're all looking for that magic pill. I myself love a magic pill, and I do love supplements and I use them in my practice regularly. But we don't rely on supplements altogether. Those earlier videos I suggested talk about diet and lifestyle changes as basic steps first. But if you're looking to add a supplement, it can support your body and give a little boost where you might need it. One of the first supplements I use when I'm looking at luteal phase defect is something called Vitex or Chase Tree Berry. This supplement in particular works by increasing your luteinizing hormone levels, your LH levels, which can help boost your progesterone levels because it helps optimize your ovulation. With that said, Vitex is a pretty potent herb and it is not for everybody. If you, for whatever reason, already have elevated circulating LH levels, adding Vitex on top can actually mess your cycles up more and inhibit ovulation. I've seen this in conditions like PCOS, where LH levels are naturally a little bit higher than they should be, and adding more does not support it. I also don't recommend it for an extended period of time. So if you're using Vitex, it can take a while to start working, about 3 to 6 months, but if it doesn't work within that period of time, it's probably not the supplement for you. Dosing for Vitex can be a little bit tricky. There are 2 different preparations. They have extract preparations and dried preparations. If you're doing an extract preparation, typically about 200 to 400 milligrams works. And if you're doing a dried preparation, 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams works. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of nuance. There are things to check before you start using it. And if you have the resources, I also recommend working with a practitioner who's knowledgeable about this topic like myself or someone else, so that you can save yourself a lot of time and energy and a lot of trial and error along the way. Next up is myo-inositol. I love myo-inositol. It is a wonderful nutrient. It is in the B vitamin family. Not only does myo-inositol help sensitize your tissues to insulin so that your body doesn't have to pump out as much insulin, research has shown that it helps improve egg quality too, which can help boost progesterone levels, which can help with luteal phase. The dosing for myo-inositol can also vary just like Vitex, but typically about 2,000 milligrams either once or twice a day in a powder form has been shown to be very beneficial. And the last supplement I would recommend for luteal phase defect, if you aren't doing this already, is take a high quality prenatal. And prenatals, they are not created equal. I'll be the first to tell you and announce I am so picky when it comes to prenatals. Don't just want any old prenatal off the shelf or whatever's on sale. I want something that's gonna cover all the bases, something that's gonna have really high quality ingredients and also in amounts that are actually gonna support your egg quality and sex hormone production. If you wanna check out my favorite prenatal brands, head to the links below, and I've linked, I think it's actually called My Favorites. As always, before starting any supplements or changing anything in your routine, consult your physician first. If you are ready to build the foundation for your pregnancy this year, you are welcome to dive deeper into any of the videos I have here. And I've also linked my Fertile Kickstarter guide below, where I'm sharing my 5 foundational keys to help you get pregnant without the added restriction, pressure, or the pills. That's all we have for today. If you are a fellow food and fertility nerd, be sure to comment below and hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.